Oh, this is so exciting! Fight night 1. Jazza very graciously won both die rolls in the semis and finals, but remembered, which I did not, that Moto randomizes die rolls. So he's had to give up the play both times in top 4. Sorry about that, Jazza. Alright, starting things off, we have a Blazemire Verge and a Deathrite Shaman. I'm going to take a wild stab in the dark and say this is probably a Jund deck. Although it is possible it could be some others. Could be a few different things. So Angus will be going into turn 3 with a mana advantage if the Deathrite lives. Really depends on if Jazza's spinning his wheels and playing a Thoughtseize turn 1 or a cantrip. So we'll see what goes on here. But I mean, turn 1 Deathrite Shaman is a very strong lead, so at the very least we have a meaningful amount of pressure, unlike quite a lot of the other turn 1s we've seen, which have been pretty minor. Okay, Deathrite gets met with a bolt, a return to parity. Sounds good. So I'm assuming that Angus will follow this up with some kind of threat. Insert threat here. FOMO, sure. This card's really sweet. It actually surprised me a lot. I figured that it would be good during spoiler season for Dustmourne. I didn't realize it would show up anywhere near as much as it has been. The fact that it usually attacks for 4 by itself, but sometimes you can just have these really big, disgusting turns is really cool. So I'm glad to see some Dustmourne love. Discarding a Fel to Profane. I'm guessing this is because it's an instant and a land, and we care about Delirium. It's probably what's going on. Not much follow-up here. Possible that the hand from Angus's side has a fair bit of spot removal in it. It's possible it also has a 4-drop or so. Jazza casting an end of turn Brainstorm with a fetch up, which is always terrifying. I'd say given the matchup, probably 65-35 Jazza's way game 1. And then game 2 and 3, I would assume Angus gains quite a lot of equity. So I think this is a really important game for Jazza to win, just to lock it up. But if Angus wins this game 1, he's probably quite poised to win game 3. So we'll see how it plays out in actuality. Cheeky Sewers after the Brainstorm. Binning a Lorien, sure. Lot of wheel spinning from Jazza's end. He's going to make sure he hits his land drops. Ideally, he's going to find time to squeeze in a discard spell, I would assume. And I think from Angus's side, he's really going to have to find some pressure, and soon. Depending on what this Bloodstain Mire gets, Angus might be on 8 points. That'd be kind of sick. I mean, he's shown us Blazemire Verge Stomping Ground, which both do appear in normal Jund mana bases. And he's probably getting a Surveil, so we're not going to have too much info. Although if he gets like a Badlands and casts a K-Com or something, Mortuary. Okay. Still not sure yet. It might be 8 points. It'd be kind of sick. Been a Dismember. Very reasonable. And casting a Once Upon a Time. Sure. Looking for a threat. Got a Bowmasters? Okay. So FOMO is not on. We have instant land creature. Okay. Angus hits an Arena of Glory though. So if he's playing something this turn, it's going to have haste and it's going to hit like a truck. Oh, you can play lots of things this turn that all have haste. Oh, hell yeah. This is so much damage out of nowhere. Okay. And then we can eat the Cling with Bone Man. And Judger just takes 6 out of nowhere. One side of the bracket had creatures and the other side had combo. Yeah, I mean, that's how it played out. The top 4 was a really good spread. We had Esper creatures, Jund Beatdown, Nadu Walks, which has creatures, and Thassa's Oracle, which doesn't have that many creatures. It's actually a very nice, even spread across the board. Well, Judge's leading with a Thoughtseize. Takes an Omnivorous Fly Trap. That's another Duskmourn special. That card's a hell of a card. And he goes to 8. So he's currently not dead on board. Or, yeah, he's a little dead. Does he have anything? He has 7 cards in hand. There's no way Judge was just dead, right? There's no Delirium for FOMO yet. There is a line I can see that may present lethal. Oh, I think Juz is dead. I think he's dead. This is just an unholy amount of random garbage to be attacking with. This is great. So he goes to 7. He's now facing 7 power. Tamio. And... okay. Has the Fatal Push Bone Man. There is not Delirium. Not dead on board. Considering the start of that turn, very much could have been dead. And we know Angus's hand was a Wooded Foothills. It appears he has drawn something relevant. Oh, he's trying to get Delirium. Which would be lethal? No. No, it wouldn't be lethal. Alright. So Juzza gets an extra turn here. He goes to 4. He can't draw too many extra cards and also hope to fetch. But Angus has 1 card in hand. It's completely unknown. But he might be dead. In fact, I think he is probably dead. Is it misstep? Alright. GG's. Jalza manages to stave off the assault of the random idiot creatures to pull off a 5 mana A+B combo. Classic. So as mentioned earlier, I would say that Juzza is the heavy favorite game 1 against, a Jund mid-range creature strategy, just because Angus's deck is probably full of quite a lot of removal spells and some idiot creatures that aren't very potent in certain ways. Here, Angus is going to get a lot of percentage points out of his sideboard. There are a lot of green cards that are really good. There are a lot of red cards that are really good. There are plenty of black cards that have quite a lot of text. And Juzza's probably not going to gain too much. I assume he'll bring in maybe a Beb or two. I assume there's some kind of sweeper, maybe some other removal spells he'll have access to. So despite it being, 65-35 pre-board, I would expect it to be much closer to 50-50 post-board. I would still probably give an edge to the A plus B combo deck, especially one that has access to removal spells and potent creatures like Abhorrent Oculus. But we'll see how it plays out. I think the big game will be game 3, because Angus will have to decide between disrupting with Thoughtseize and developing a board. And those mana squeezes are going to be the biggest factor here. So as a reminder to anyone who's just dropped in, this is the finals of Fight Night 1. The winner of this match will get, I think it came out to 170? Yeah, they flattened the curve. 170, and the loser will get 125. Jordan and JD are battling off screen for 75 versus 50. With the age of... Do we need to point Oracle or Juzza? We could maybe do both, I mean, JD was on a tear in the Swiss bracket, so I've got my eye on Nadu and Time Walk personally. But we'll see how it plays out. I mean, don't count Angus out from here. He's got 2 games. He can easily win both of them, especially because they're post-board, so... We'll see what happens. I think pointing Juzza is... It's probably not like a hate crime, but it's pretty bad to just point at one person, Pointing Oracle, that's something on my to-do list. I hate that card. Alrighty, we're going into game 2. Juzza is up a game. Angus is opting to take the play. And this is Jund Delirium, I guess, versus Grixis Thoracle. Angus is mulling to 6. I assume to look for things like discard spells. Or maybe sideboard cards. We'll see how it plays out. Beseiju Ignoble Hierarch, okay. So we can start casting 3 drops if Hierarch lives. Beseiju is a little concerning. Suggests that Angus is probably quite land light. The Hierarch does look like it's going to live though. So if we can just play some really dumb 3-drop, well, probably okay. Blood Crypt Shocked into... Fable! Angus is paying the point for Fable. Hell yeah. For those of you who somehow don't know, Fable of the Mirror Breaker is arguably one of the best 3-drops printed of all time. This card has so much text for something that should not have this much text. And it recently went up to a point, and Angus is spending a point on it, which probably suggests he's playing an 8-point deck. And he has the extra point ready to go. Juzza's fired off a probe and sees Endurance, Malevolent Rumble, and Veil of Summer. That is interesting. So having Endurance is a huge deal. Having Veil of Summer is a huge deal. And having Fable to generate mana and also rummage through the next couple of cards, I would say Angus is probably somewhere in the 60% range at this point. Like, that is a stacked hand to have on a Mulder 6. The big concern is if Juzza just, like, plays a Psychic Frog here. That would be pretty bad. Strix is probably fine. I mean, we can attack with the Shaman and trade with the Strix. So Angus is going to draw a card here, have 4 cards to choose from for Fable. Might keep all of them. Considering we know a fair amount of his hand, it's possible we see no discard. Draw a Raucous Theatre for turn and discarded it. That makes sense. Okay. So we're happy to ship in the Shaman into the Strix. I think it's a very reasonable attack. We get a treasure token to hold up our Endurance and our Veil. And then hopefully, from Angus's side, we just flip Fable and it lives and we start doing degenerate things with it. Oh, he drew a removal spell. Okay. Well, we get to keep the Shaman. And so his hand is Endurance, Rumble, Veil. Sure. Curious to see if he does anything. Yeah, it does make sense to just pass there. I guess he just like hold up Endurance for the rest of the game. Tameo is awkward, but we can attack through it because of the Ignoble Hierarch. I mean, Juzza has 7 cards in hand right now. And one of them's a Netherglyph. Okay. So we probably have to do something about that. Question is, are we firing off Endurance here? So we can keep attacking? I think probably. Yeah, it looks like he is. Does leave you open to just dying on the spot. To Thoracle Consultation, but Juzza did miss that land drop, so he's not threatening Thoracle Pact, which does narrow his range. And this means we can get in with both. Should be fine to ship in some blocks. And then if you have Reflection Endurance up, you're still safe adjacent from Thoracle. Oh, we're shipping him with the Shaman and leaving the Endurance back to threaten the Tameo. I like it. So we have a Veil and a Malevolent Rumble. Probably firing off Rumble here. But like, Juzza missed a land drop, so he has 6 spells in hand. And he is in a very tight squeeze. There are a lot of permanents in play. Okay. And a choke now. So Juzza got Stone Rained for his Sewers, and now has a Badlands up. Choke is one of the cards that I was nodding to when I said that Angus would get a very large percentage buff post-board. He's drawn a Reb and a Choke. Yeah. Okay. That is game 2, and we are tied up. Juzza is going to have the option of play or draw in the final game of Fight Night 1. Very exciting stuff. I think the fact that Juzza won game 1 is probably going to be the biggest deciding factor. If he lost the first game and then won the second game, and Angus had to play in the decider, that would be more concerning. But I think this is about as close to 50-50 as you can get in the current landscape of Highlander. We have a deck that is a bunch of critters and some interaction, and they side out a bunch of their removal spells and side in a bunch of haymakers and hate pieces, versus a deck that can realistically play a mid-range game plan and go over the top and just blow you up at some point. I think this is about as close to 50-50 as you can get. So super great. I'm on the edge of my seat trying to work out who's going to win today. I think I'm going to bet on Juzza. But it's not by much. Alright, gang. Looks like we're ready to go to game 3. Both players have 16 minutes, which is really good. Nice, healthy, non-clock based gameplay. Yeah, there'll be a VOD for the stream. What I've been doing on the side is recording the individual matches that I'm commentating on, but Twitch should automatically save the VOD for a week as well. Alright, so turn 1 Inquisition from Juzza sees Veil, Tarn, Stomping Ground, Inquisition, Duress, Malevolent Rumble, Besage, and Veil was the pick. Angus is going to fire back with his own Inquisition, obviously. And we'll see if this gets misstepped. It does. Okay, so we're playing a low resource game, but not a super low resource game. Juzza's going to untap with 5 cards in hand and a land. Angus has 5 cards in hand and a land. So it's really going to depend on when Angus can find time to squeeze a threat through versus spending his mana to be interactive. So for example, if he draws a 2-drop, do you cast Duress or do you play a 2-drop? That's the key decision point. And it really depends on whether or not you think you'll die. Serum Visions? How is there a deck in 2024 that should be playing Serum Visions? Juzza, you fiend. I mean, we've seen Night's Whisper today. We've seen a lot of cards today, actually. An Offer You Can't Refuse was on stream. That was gas. Alright, so whether or not Angus fires off a Duress here really depends on whether or not he draws a 2-drop threat. Looks like he didn't. And the Duress sees Volk, Brotherhood's End, Fire Covenant, and Daze. So Juzza's hand is reactionary in the most complete sense. He has 2 sweepers and a counterspell and a land. Angus's hand, on the other hand, has a Rumble and a Besager and some other lands. It has like a Stomping Ground. So there's probably going to be a couple of turns where not much happens. Although a Shredder will change that. That's a pretty good top deck. Reb to kill the Shredder. We know that's going to resolve. Shock in a Stomping Ground, likely because we've either drawn a threat or we don't care about the damage. Probably the latter. Rumble picks up Ashok, Thornspire, Darcy, and Baragov. Curious to see what we take here. Juzz's hand has a Fire Covenant and a Brotherhood's End. So I think it's between Ashok and Baragov. I don't think it's ever Darcy here. Could also be the land, but you get a Eldrazi Squid token. Takes Ashok, okay. So he's willing to play a slower game for the sake of not dying, which makes sense. I think if you take Baragov there and just take 6 to ship it with Fire Covenant, you're in kind of a spot. And so if you play Ashok, you can eat away at some of the resources and just hope. And if it gets through and you do manage to hit like Thoracle, then you're playing a deck that's built to be fair, fighting a deck that's unfair that has a fair backup plan. And those are terms that you can live with. Dash Ragavan, sure. So we'll see if this prompts a Fire Covenant. I wouldn't be surprised. Juzza drew a Bolt. Okay, that makes sense. So his hand is Fire Covenant, Brotherhood's End. And Angus has Ashok, Unknown, Besager. So now we're jamming Ashok, presumably. So Angus has 1 unknown, Juzza has no unknowns but 2 cards in hand. And we're hoping to just mill something that matters. Let's find out. Spellseeker, Mystic Sanctuary, EI, and Mishra's Bauble. So no dramatic hits there. The Spellseeker does matter. And so does the Sanctuary, to be honest. But Juzza still has the ability to combo off at some point. That is going to become less likely over the course of the next few turns. So we'll see if Angus draws a threat, and we'll see what he mills. He mills Consultation, Counsel, See, and Ponder. Those are pretty good hits. One of the 2 pieces is a big deal. Demonic Counsel was going to do nothing, but Ponder is a big deal. See is much of a muchness. And he drew an Arena, but he doesn't have a creature yet. This is pretty close. Someone's going to draw a Haymaker at some point. Some of the Haymakers aren't live, though. That one is. That's a pretty good one. So we know Juzza's hand has a Brotherhood's End, a Fire Covenant, and an Unknown. Angus has 2 unknowns and an Ashok that's ticking away. Thoughtseize, so he's drawing a fetch in that time. Nothing too crazy. We're going milling again. Oculus, Darcy, Tainted Pact, Unearth. Oh boyo. So Juzza's Thassa's Oracle plan is not doable now. There is no way for him to flip his whole deck upside down. However, he has a Baragov in play. So his current plan is kill all of Angus's blockers and kill him with Baragov. And Angus needs to keep trying to mill things that can kill him. This is riveting stuff. We're going to see if Barry can just get there. Because Angus has drawn some air to go with his Ashok. He drew a Thoughtseize that didn't do much. It's going to be close. He has a Dreams of Steel and Oil in hand. Okay. And Baragov is attacking face. specifically to draw a card, ignore the Ashiok, hits a Tameo, can play the Tameo, that's a huge deal. And the Jace is gone. So I think Angus really needs to draw a way to deal with this Baraglyph right now, or he's dead. Even if he mills with Ashiok, it doesn't matter what he mills anymore. He milled himself and hit a Netherglyph, so he does have a blocker. And he can maybe shrink the Baraglyph so that they're both like 3/4s. Okay. And then Juzza has a Tameo, but that doesn't actually matter because he has to win with just random creatures from this point on. Like, even the Jace is gone. The Natural Mill is... I think the Natural Mill is somewhat live, but it requires Angus to actually be able to deal with Baraglyph. Like, he needs to be able to not die to this Baraglyph very soon. Juzza's hand is a Lorien Revealed and a Fire Covenant. So if he hits a land, he can cast Lorien Revealed and flip Tameo. He's gonna eat his own graveyard? No way. Okay, Baraglyph's an 0-1. And then it becomes a 1-2 with the Verdant Catacombs. But then you just Fire Covenant, right? Unless the Verdant Catacombs can't get a land. I don't know if that's possible. I don't think we've seen all of them. I think there's still a Swamp. This is so close. Oh wait, the Verdant Catacombs can't be cracked because of Ashiok. So... Wait, so we're gonna kill the Bogatroller with Fire Covenant? And then, what, attack the Ashiok for 1 and make a clue? Okay. Okay. It's about as good as it's going to get. I mean, Angus has an Arena of Glory and no cards in hand. So he's ready to go if he just draws a thing that matters. And Juzza has a Lorien Revealed and 2 permanents that are both scary and drawing cards. Baraglyph is killing Ashiok. So now the Verdant Catacombs is online. And then what? The Mystic Sanctuary is gone. Yeah, I think we're going to attempt to hardcast Lorien at some point. But I don't think it's going to matter. I think it's just Angus needs to draw a thing that affects the board, like right now. He's paying costs? Okay, so does that do anything? The Verdant gets the Swamp. I think Juzza still has his Swamp. So Juzza can cast black and red spells. And assuming he still has his island, he should have everything. So I think Magus is a glorified chump blocker. And we know for a fact... Well, I mean... Juzza doesn't have anything at least revealed that will answer this Magus. So it can just block. If this gets blue blasted, he goes to 1? I don't know if he has outs. I don't know what he could have. Ah, yeah, that'll do it. GG's. And the champion of the very first fight night is, of course, Justin Chung, our beloved Juzza. He asked me going into the week, like, I reached out to him and I was like, are you playing Canberra? Do you want to play this fight night thing? And he's like, I don't know, I'll see what I'm doing, but I don't know what I'm going to do with this Saturday. And he just comes in like a ringer and takes everyone for a ride. Congrats, Juzza. Well done, bud. It looks like